So this is a Galore versus Veritas. This is actually my second fight. I'll be showing my first and last fight later because they were more exciting. This one was kind of weird in hindsight and retrospect. Definitely I could have done better in terms of like a safer team, but when I was doing this I was at work and did this on the voice call with Iggy, and they wanted to see this team. A lot of them were like, why this team? It is like for content. So anyways, there was a slight possibility for this to be a victory too, but the timing was a bit weird, and also that Yuna is extremely fast. That lapping Yuna was what caused me the death here. I'm just gonna spoil it. I lose this one. Millier is Sir Pig. So for those who don't know who Sir Pig is, I did an account review on him like a couple months ago, so definitely check it out on YouTube. He's probably one of the most insane players, especially at that time of the review that I've reviewed. Just the amount of gear he has, and I should have known better than to kind of underestimate him here. The idea with Sirmia is that I would be able to still kill Yuna. Someone told me she was squishy, but it turns out she wasn't as squishy as they said. She's at like 8 or 9k HP, which is not the case. The idea was basically Eaton should be able to tank it, but everybody had a greater attack buff, as you can see there, the Ravi and the MLK. And at this point, I'm just like debating. I'm like, okay, should I just one-shot the Yuna? Even on a miss with a greater attack buff, if it was like 8 or 9k, I think it should have one-shot it, but she was 11,000. With otherworldly machinery, extra damage on the AoE, it was definitely a smart play here. And of course, that works not like Portrait, where Portrait would only be 50% HP or higher. But the damage on the MLK, the damage on the Ravi with greater attack buffs, it was just like there's no way to win this. So at this point, I was just chatting with Iggy. I'm like, what should I do? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I lost. And some people were like, no, just try kill Yuna. Technically, there could have been a potential for a win if my Sirmia killed off Yuna and my Eaton got a turn, but I don't think he even gets a turn because there's speed buff on Ravi. If Eaton was able to cleanse and put up the barrier, he would survive Ravi's attack. But because I don't even get this here, I think Yuna laps here, I think. No. Yeah, it's too fast with the speed buff. So yeah, that was it. And I allowed my Eaton to die because this was my second fight. So anyways, that's it for that one, the commentary. Of course, there's so many other safer comps to do, honestly. I think 2 revivers would work on that one too. But yeah, this one's a bit risky as well. I knew about Sir Pig's RB. And again, unless he's changed it since my account review, very high crit damage, high attack, very good crit rate with Alexa's basket with about 211 speed. I don't know if he's improved it up to this point. So yeah, Sir Pig says I could do another account review, hopefully soon. But he's changed his in-game name, so if you guys don't know who he was before, now you kind of make the connection. Hopefully I didn't out him. Maybe he wants to keep it a secret. I don't know. This one was a bit risky too because of just how much damage he put towards. And again, because that RB is really fast, I can't really take advantage of this team. I definitely RNG carried, I think, this one. There was no way I could break that skill null, so it's a wasted turn on this one. But this one's definitely RNG carried because that Alexa's basket there and a crit. Yeah, if it goes to DN's anti-crit buff, there's no way CR will be able to mitigate that damage. His SSB was pretty quick too. I think it was like 180 or something like that. The estimate was 180 speed. Pretty high damage. Yeah, this part was a bit it could have been my first double loss.
I will destroy everything.
There have been fights in the past where it's always like really clutch to get my first double loss, but not this time. That the RB was still too quick. You can see that he's coming fast. He laps my SSB, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty much dead. Like if he had crit this, my SSB would be dead. And yeah, I'd probably win it, but I probably would be suffering a bit there. But anyways, pretty lucky on a couple things. So that's it, the fight for Sir Pig. This is my second fight. So in sequence, this is my first fight with Warbold, and of course, shout out to Warbold. He hit me as well during this guild war. I watched it. It was pretty good. So one thing you'll notice is that damage onto Fire Achates, you can see that there's no Aureus on my green Armin. So I already went into this fight kind of like nerfed. No BM at all, Warbold. If you're watching this, no BM whatsoever. I really wanted to make sure I won. I kind of screwed up here because I forgot about the ML Ken's defense break. I was too shaken by the amount of damage on my Achates. I just went for the S3, which is totally the wrong way to go. The defense break is what really ruins me here, and at this point I can't debuff ML Ken yet. But the reason why I wanted to show this is going to be a long fight, alright? Spoiler alert, this is going to be a really long fight. So I went in without Aureus on the green Armin, and you guys will see what happens next. At this point, I'm like seeing, first, Warbold's Crow is extremely fast. Warbold's Spectenny is extremely fast. It's pretty scary on a really fast Spectenny. I was not expecting that, to be honest. I think I was the first one to hit Warbold. I'm not quite sure. I might have been. I don't remember actually. But yeah, you see the two defense breaks there. I'm like, oh frick, I'm dead. Because if I heal Achates here for the cooldown reduction, then 100% green Armin or Dizzy would be the first priority, and Dizzy would be dead. Because Crow would go into Dizzy, and then Spectenny would follow up, and the Dizzy would be dead with that defense break. So really, I only had one choice, but at this point, I already thought I was gonna lose. Of course, I think that's the spoiler there. Yeah, there's nothing I could do. I was hoping that I can get a blind, but this is risky as well. I'm like, all the yggy guys who were watching this, they were like, outside of that cleansing on the defense break, like I missed that step. That was completely wrong. But outside of that, the yggy guys were looking at it. They were like, monkas! They're all sweating because I get pretty unlucky. If I remember correctly, what's coming up is a crit on ML Ken. I have no crit rate built in, so I got unlucky there. And so that's 100% bye-bye to a green Armin there. Yeah, it was pretty risky the entire fight. And remember that they were faster than my Fire Achates, so I wouldn't be able to heal that green Armin. So there's a couple places here where I was. Oh yeah, they had speed down. All right, I forgot. Still no way out of this one. I was still struggling here. That reduction, the cooldown reduction, the S2 placed on Dizzy messed up my turn cycle here. But I had to do it for safety. There's just no way out. I'm like, oh, she's dead. So I was about to yield this one, but it was thanks to ZZ. He was like, he said something, and I won't say what he said, but it's like don't yield. Just play it out. And I'm like, oh man, because green Armin right now is pretty core for me, especially a lot of comps. I think pair Fire Achates with Dizzy green Armin is like super good. Yeah, that struggle there was not whether or not I should hit Crow or ML Ken. It was more of, should I even continue? I was basically doing a Discord chat at this point, and yeah, so at this point I'm yielding. I'm typing like, guys, it's over. Like there's no way I can win this, right? It makes this fight like one of the, I would say probably Warbold give me one of the most exciting fights that I've had in GVG in a long time. Like sometimes like you make a mistake and you just get clapped, right? There's like no hope. This is like the underdog story. This is gonna be a comeback story. Yeah, I want to show you guys, of course, commentating on this. Just even watching this again makes me kind of. There's a lot of Monka's moments for sure. You guys will see this, and you guys will see why. Even as we're paused on the yield screen, I'm still debating whether or not I should do it. When I was on Warbold stream, he made a really funny comment. He's like, hey Dragon, next time we should do it if we're facing each other, like log into each other's accounts and try to clap each other. So in terms of like, he logs into me, he logs into my account, and he attacks himself, and I do the same. He said like that's pure content. I have to agree, that would be pretty funny, very unique. So at this point, ZZ was the one I was like convincing me, just don't do it, don't do it, and just play it out. And I'm like, okay, fine. So in my mind, obviously, if I lost Dizzy, if I lost Achates here, it would be over. There's no way to sustain, and there's no way to do damage if it was just Fire Achates left. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll play it out. Right. So the trick here is, of course, we can abuse Krau's S3. He would still attack Fire Elemental if he has the S3 or Elemental advantage. Even if the person he's going to target is in invincibility. And every other skill, Krau would go after anyone else regardless of elemental advantage if the person's invincibility. So for example, if it's a fire hero and invincibility and there's a green, so Krau usually AI would not attack a green, he would still attack it with the S1 or the S2, but while down to S3 he will go for the one he has the most advantage of. So that also works if you have, let's say, 2 greens and a blue, and the blue was in invincibility, the 2 greens are exposed, his S3, he would go into the blue. But that's the AI right now, so I mean, I took advantage of that, and I think a lot of people are complaining to fix that AI because it makes Krau kind of dumb on a defense team. You can pretty much abuse him with immortality and with invincibility, those 2 things. But anyways, the trick here is because that Krau is faster than my Achates without the speed down, I had to time this like very, very well. Right here I'm exposed, but I saw that his HP wasn't bad. So from here on out though, it got worse. In retrospect, I think I would have preferred Isla Violin versus an Abyssal Crown on Dizzy on this fight. One of the things I was asking before I even went into the fight was like, what would you guys choose? They're saying that both works, but they would probably choose Abyssal. I would say I would agree if Green Arm was alive. The other thing is that this Krau has low effect resistance, but pure speed HP, as you can see, there's 23,000 there. I don't know if Warbold has an imprint, but regardless, he has high HP, and I'm assuming high defense as well. With that speed, he'd probably have like maybe maximum 30 effectiveness. And I might be wrong. I've never seen Warbold's characters or heroes, but that's my estimate. That's my experience when I'm building Krau, is like moving things back and forth. So that's probably another reason why I ended up winning this one. So I had to check the skills, like the countdown, a lot. I had to time this, like every single move towards killing Krau became riskier and riskier. This is why this became probably one of the most exciting wars I've had. That stun was okay, and I was looking at this, I'm like, I don't need anything. I think I ended up kind of turn cycling Dizzy. Yeah, there you go. I started doing that as well, because to be able to have the CR pushback and the S3 on command was probably more important in a lot of senses to be able to win this one. So anyways, I screwed up. You know, initially went in with the wrong skill on Achates, which really set me back, and then of course the Green Armand dying because of that result, and Green Armand didn't even have an Aureus. Realistically, if Green Armand had an Aureus with her damage reduction passive, Krau, even with like pretty decent HP, if he's blind or attack down, he wouldn't be able to one-shot Achates really easily, because Aureus would be able to mitigate the damage. One thing I want to note is that Warbold's ML Ken is freaking cancerous. Like, I think there's many times where I actually crit him, and he had attack down and his blind, and he hit like a truck, and I was just like really scared. Yeah, this one was this fight was pretty long. This ended up being, I think, the longest fight I've ever had, because that Krau cycled his skill so fast. And again, I think I take a look at this skill. Yeah, there was basically no way I could win Krau like this way, like unless it was Fire Achates. So in terms of like broken team comps, I think Green Armand Dizzy Fire Achates is so good at taking out a lot of stuff. It's not even just this. Yeah, so at this point I had to push back Krau, and again, good thing low resist on Krau, and I got good RNG there, that my Achates was able to come back because he had his S3 up, was able to do this. Because at that point, right before the stream chat or the voice chat, they were all saying that you lost. And they're like, no, 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 because I did that one turn down, like cooldown on the Dizzy. You see, there's so much I had to kind of like juggle. It was very tough, to be honest, but it really does show that Dizzy and Fire Achates, both of them are such broken heroes. To be able to really 2v3 is pretty crazy. Yeah, the crowd barrier became one of the biggest problems, and then in retrospect, like I said, I wish I had Violin. If I knew this was going to happen, I wish I had Violin. That strip would help so much, because I basically had to wait for him to finish his turn in order to get that barrier removed, and therefore I can do more damage. I had to kill him off, otherwise it was just too risky. At that point, I should have actually did the turn down, the cooldown on the Dizzy there. But I didn't. I was more eager to break the barrier. I don't know why. That actually didn't make sense. So again, I was calculating how many turns Crow had. But as you can see, this is very, very scary because I'm doing very insignificant chip damage, and that Crow was scary stuff for sure. I don't even remember what happened. Like when I started doing this, yeah, that hit pretty hard. That was without the counter, the critical hit counter. Yeah, I was looking still at the skills, and I'm like, okay, I think I should be good.
You're going to get better.
Yeah, the funny thing is though, I thought that this would be the only fight I had to do this, but this is why Warbold actually became the second in this video. Again, here was my first attack. Okay, first attack losing Green Armin, big loss for me. But I was gonna plan on putting Warbold's fight here at the end, because this was like the most exciting fight, but it turned out I had a similar experience in the Stronghold, which again, another long commentary you guys will see. It's when I'm thinking back now, it's ridiculous how these fights went. Anyways, doing again more big brain calculations, I had to wait a bit. I got that good stun there, and his S3's coming, so I knew 100% like this one, because he would beat me in speed, and then I wouldn't push back on that one, because if you push back Carl, then I'm screwed. So yeah, there you go. I think someone was mentioning that this is probably the longest, no, probably the only time he's ever seen Crow S3 like 3-4 times, and I have to say I agree. I've never seen it before. When you get yourself into this kind of problem, this this becomes a really, really big problem.
I'll save you. Vitality, rush forth.
You know, at this point, it's rinse and repeat, and just have to be very careful of what you do. You have to plan it, and I'm like, okay, this time Crow is dead, so that's why I soul burn this one. Crow was probably the biggest problem. ML Ken became the next level. He had an attack buff up this time, and there was no way for me to strip it. Again, like I said, like an Isle of Island would be so good here, but this one had to be very, very careful, because if I crit him, he would pretty much heal back. Although his attack down, he has attack down, so he wouldn't heal as much, but it was still scary. Look at that. Look at that damage. My to give reference, my Dizzy had about 1600 defense, and then as you can see, the HP 16,000. No, 1700 defense. It's always like 1.7 and 1.6. I just always forget it. Yeah, so it's 1700 defense. His Warbold hits like Warbold's ML Ken hits like a truck. It was just really, really difficult to deal with. Yeah, and at this point I'm like saving the S3, because the S3 would guarantee a miss, but at least it wouldn't crit. I could not crit him. It was probably the riskiest part of this fight. Obviously I had no crit on Dizzy. I think I have about like 30-40% like from like spare subs, but not that many. But of course RNG is RNG, and when you don't want to crit, you crit. When you do want to crit, you don't crit. So everybody has that experience there. That stun was good, because he has speed down and of course low base speed, and no one builds ML Ken with speed usually. It was easier to manipulate him here. Keep his stun up, keep him pushed back. I know I shouldn't have done this, but I wanted the extra damage, so that's why I wanted to for the soul burn. the 2 turn. Push him back, and Achates became a damage dealer as well. Like, her role here was to do extra damage while he's stunned, so no risk. And yet, while he's stunned, I don't have any crit. It's kind of odd. Yeah, I got lucky here a couple times on the stun. That was for the turn decrease, but apparently I already had it, so I wasn't really calculating at this point.
Everyone, I'll save you. For the goddess.
Yeah, so that was it. Really annoying fight. And all the while, you might be thinking, okay, that's over, right? No, we had the second fight, but at least the second fight wasn't as long. So here goes the second fight. Pretty self-explanatory. We got basically one element to deal with, which is dark, and force the 2 fire. So Charles will always go into the Eaton, and they were pretty safe because Sirmia is broken too. Sirmia is really good with her EE. Highly recommend, if you don't have her, build her, put love into her, give her the stats you need. I build her as a pure nuker, so she has like no speed, almost base. I think she has about like 100 130 speed right now. Yeah, the idea of this is pretty simple. Kill off the Charles. Charles has no attack buff. And then when he's coming back, he won't be that threatening versus Eaton. At this point, I look at this and I'm like, okay, I gotta heal Hazel first, because if Mei Chloe dual attacks, and I had the barrier on Eaton, if Mei Chloe dual attacks the Hazel, which is would be the lowest HP at that turn, if someone dual attacks my Hazel and Hazel dies, then the game is over as well. I needed the healer. I had Megara's Tome on Hazel on this fight. I do like swapping it on Hazel, sometimes Potion Vial if you need that 1 cleanse. Megara's Tome is really good for her, especially if you have her really speedy. Mine was actually pretty good in terms of speed.
Shall we get going?
This was pretty good too, worked out because the Mei Chloe is so fast that she wastes her own turns, so I didn't have to kill her and then re-kill her. Yeah, with the Megara's Tome, the Hazel is extremely fast down the timeline, and then I can do the S2 heal. At this point, actually, someone on the YouTube chat actually told me you can actually target select Hazel to have the greater attack buff on herself, so that her S2 heal, the one I just did right there, could have healed even more. But it's more of muscle memory now. I just double click it and it always applies to the fire hero. The AI applies the greater attack buff to the fire hero with the highest attack. Sirmia doesn't need it anymore because she would infinitely cycle, so in that instance I should have done it anyway, although my Eaton is pretty beefy. Proof of Valor there as well. But yeah, with Assassin Collie's turn rotation, that's pretty bad. Yeah, my of course Hazel, any 3-star you start using now, you should skill enhance it max. I mean, it's free, just grind it, it's free. She has, I think, a 75% chance to do unhealable, so that also cuts down on Akali's damage. No attack buff on the next turn. So those are the fights with Warbold there. Again, GG Warbold and GG on the war. This is the last fight. This is Stronghold, Mel Tillis. So Mel Tillis, shout out to you. I never talked to you before, but anyways. So I fight Mel Tillis here. Similar thing happens on the second fight, so definitely hold on to your seats. This is gonna be a long Galore. The first one wasn't that bad. I mean, Aureus on the F Maya. I wanted the F Maya there because she had the self cleanse. F Maya hits like a truck now with her new buffs, so she's definitely like a good pick for this one. The SSB was not on damage share. I think it's strategic there. Just maybe prevent cleave, because if you bring a cleave team, just the Alencia and the Cecilia there, if they were to survive the cleave, would still be enough to kill off the cleave team. So probably that's the reason they didn't want to kill off those two too quick. So it's kind of like you're gonna lose on whether or not you're a bruiser team or not. I think in this team, I'm not quite sure what this counters specifically. Maybe it's a counter cleave. That was a fast fire CC, by the way. Maybe it's a counter cleave. I think it's a mix of counter cleave and counter SSBC Armin DN, the comp that I use a lot. And in this fight, I swapped my F Maya to HP neck instead of crit damage neck. I just wanted the survivability. I didn't know what would happen. I mean, Alencia with a Mind's Eye with a defense break on F Maya is not easy. Yeah, that was a Bloodstone on the SSB there. Yeah, SSB isn't too tough, especially if you have a full bruiser team without an attack buff, that is. But yeah, there's specific reasons why people are building comps. It's like, probably to counter some of those easy ones, and I'm pretty sure this one is to counter DN SSB and
I'll deal with this.
what's it called? C Armin, like the strip, and then the SSB gets the debuff stuff on, stuff like that. Although I wouldn't know why they would use Fire CC for that then. I'm not quite sure. But anyways, maybe he's just trying it out. So this one's not too bad. The counterattack, and then it was an Aureus on the Fire CC. Ah man, I wish I had a Fire CC. I kind of like her skin. Her new skin's pretty good. Yeah, and it didn't really matter who was provoked on this one. Yeah, Momo would always be pretty good. And then also to keep in mind that the F Maya now has a 75% provoke innate. If you soul burn is 100%, so it's pretty easy to keep her away from Momo. At this point, there was no point hitting the Alencia. They just proc Mind's Eye. Without immunity, my F Maya would just focus on taking the damage from Alencia.
I'll help you. Here I go.
Yeah, so this fight wasn't super bad.
Your life ends here.
Yeah, the Mind's Eye procced, but didn't really matter. Yeah, Aureus on that F Maya.
So this should be enough.
I'll show you what I've got.
I do have to say though that Alencia was actually pretty beefy. I'm estimating about like 1300, 1400 defense. My F Maya usually would be able to do a bit more damage than that. I know there was a defense buff here, but she would do more damage than what I did. So definitely a pretty tanky Alencia. Alright, so this is the second one. Now this is just watch the RNG. This one I made sure everybody was equipped with their artifacts and stuff. This one definitely was a bit monkas as well. I got that reaction again. Here I'm like, okay, I had to protect Achates because the K-Ron with S3, he had an attack buff up, which is just too scary. So it's just easier to gamble it on a nice hero.
I'm charging.
This one, my Dizzy is on Isla Violin. Isla Violin made more sense on this fight. And again, like I said, in Warbold's fight, I wish I would have had Violin, but again, hindsight is 20/20. But that hits pretty hard too. I had a defense buff up, he had an attack buff, but it didn't mean that he should do that much damage. Anyways, but here was pretty scary. I was like, okay, pretty scary, but I'm like, okay, this should be fine. But I get RNG too, as well. So this fight becomes a very long one. At this point, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna try to kill off that Vivian. To me, that Vivian was probably the highest threat, and but I didn't know that that CC was on an Aureus. The Vivian was on a Proof of Valor, so it was really tanky, and the Vivian was also on Lifesteal set. I'm assuming that it's probably the Abyss Lifesteal set, and also has a really crazy resist. It would resist all of my strips. So this became like one of those like really clutch fights again. At this point I still thought I had it. And in retrospect, I probably did do the S3 way too quickly. She had the barrier. Yeah, see, look, the resist on that 15%, that dual attack there. At this point, I'm like, I think I lost. At this point, again, I did these 3 fights 3 separate times throughout the day. It was about like a 3 to 4 hour like gap in between. When I did this one, the same people were on the voice call, and they were like, "What the frick?" They're like monkas, And shout out to Snitchu. He's saying that yeah, for this comp, the MLCC Vivian Kayron comp, he always uses this one. He's like without fail. He's just like, but that was like, he's like, you got really bad luck. And I'm like, yep. That was pretty bad. At this point, again, this was realistically, this was a bit safer still compared to Warbold's fight. That's why I stayed in the fight, because that Vivian didn't hit super hard. It was meant to like survive. I think most likely with the Abyss set, he should have no problem getting like, you know, pretty good speed. I mean, he was really fast. Just letting you know, like put that into perspective. His Vivian was on lifesteal set and was also really fast, right? It went first. It went before my Achates and my Crow. So by no means is that a slow Vivian. So most likely it was a speed boot with lifesteal set. Most likely the 88s that we got on Abyss. That could have been bad if that Kayron crit me. It would have set me back pretty far. He had attack down. So yeah, that Vivian was really well built, but I think the thing that he had to lack was the damage. Vivian has high base attack, and with the speed boot on, is just too much attack lowered compared to what she could have done. I mean, but that S1 one-shotting into my Crow was like pretty monkus. I was like really worried right there. I wanted to put him into the mortal, but it was too late. I didn't do enough damage with the Achates. I thought I could have. I think I remember the S. Yeah, right. Like I said, the Cecilia was on Aureus, so it made killing them much harder, and it was pretty beefy, that Cecilia. So the barrier was pretty large as well. And again, I'm just, you know, thinking of like, okay, what am I doing? What am I gonna do? Kayron would have had the S3 if I killed him at this point, because he'd go into mortal. But anyways, it was a double check on the skills just to see what I could do here. Didn't strip anything, so it ended up being really risky for my Dizzy. At this point, I'm just debating on who I should be healing.
You'll regret facing.
But as you can see, that with the greater attack buff, it didn't do too much damage, and I was lucky that my counter on Dizzy actually was pretty lit on this fight. Without it, there was like no hope, pretty much. I think this one I do a pushback on Kayron, if I'm not mistaken, because to me that was probably the best thing to do. I needed to heal my Dizzy more. I think so. I don't remember all the, but yeah, because the attack would remove the skill null and then therefore strip the potentially, at least I was banking on stripping the Vivian's immunity. Yeah, this is what I did. Yeah, I pushed Kayron back as a strategic so I can get the heal up before. Again, another 2v3. Again, no BM. I actually just got really unlucky. I saw the attack down on that one, so I'm like, okay, I'll take that risk. It was a worthwhile risk. Again, if he had the without attack down, my Achates would have been dead. That was very close. That one was really close. I was very scared for that one. But here I was able to soul burn this, so I think I ended up doing that. Yeah, I think it made more sense. I also wanted to do a stun on this one. Oh, I didn't burn it. No, I didn't burn it. Okay, so it was just the debuff. Right, hoping I could get the speed down so I could lap them. Yeah, so that was a bit risky. And again, at this point, look at the Kayron. We still haven't even got him to his immortal turn. So it was very scary. With Vivian being increasing combat readiness, the speed down didn't really affect her too much. And the barrier, he went into the immortal, but at this point he had a barrier, so I couldn't kill him off again. Yeah, the pushback was the thing. I got lucky on this Vivian pushback as well, or landing it, but I didn't push her back. But you can see that the lifesteal set is working. So that Vivian had everything. Good resist RNG, had the speed, had decent damage, and There we go. When K1 was out, this was much more simple. Again, but it's kind of like fighting that ML Ken with Warbold's fight, because I had to basically beat Vivian in terms of her lifesteal. But the good thing is, in terms of like Sigurd's Scythe, ML Ken of course heals way more, and Vivian would just never be able to heal enough, especially if I kept on debuffing her and removing the attack buff. So it was an eventuality kind of fight. I know I could have got this one at this point. There wasn't much risk anymore. But yeah, still a really long fight. Very dramatic fights. All three. The loss on Sir Pig brings Sirmia into a unifight. Lol. In my opinion, I think in retrospect, when I'm thinking about this, the Sir Pig fight, I think a Euphine, MO Chloe, and an SSA would have been sufficient enough. You kill off the Euphine with an S1, you could kill off the other one with an S3, and then you have two healers that most likely will not die over time. Both on Water's Origin if must, or most likely, I don't know what I would have really done, but just to think about the amount of damage, I think it should be okay. Very safe with two revivers on that fight. There's other ways to do it as well. I think some people actually went with the DN CRM and SSB comp for his first fight, which I used for the second one, but they used a different one for the second one. So yeah, it just, I think I just got lazy. I was like, Sirmia would work. But yeah. Yeah, at this point it was still too risky to keep that Dizzy's HP too low. Otherwise I was gonna plan on whacking that Fallen Cecilia. That's why I checked the skill cooldown at that point. I do a dual attack right into her. But I think my Dizzy actually killed her anyway. Yeah, at this point I'm like, okay, there should be no problem. So I think I end up whacking her, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, I didn't. Wow, weird. I think I could have. Yeah, resist. Look at that resist Vivian. Some insane gear he has, or just some insane luck. It's pretty crazy. But lifesteal Vivian, first of its kind. I've never seen that before. And I proof of valor on the entire time, right? I forgot. So there was like pretty much no way to like just kill her in one shot. I think Aureus and proof of valor, and she had to bury from MLCC. So I don't think you could cleave that. I'm not quite sure actually. Yeah, I guess what kind of cleaver you bring. But anyways, it was anti-cleave. I mean, that should be #1 priority for most skill war defense anyway. Should be anti-cleave, and then everything else is a bonus.
For the goddess.
Yeah, this one, yeah, it's just eventually killing it. So this is super long. Combined, Mel Tillis and Warbold. Warbold was 18 minutes for both fights, and Mel Tillis is 16 and a half. So it's very long, but yeah, it was entertaining, I think, for the Iggy guys to watch this when I was doing this. But hopefully you guys are entertained as well. This is a post-match commentary, so I know the results of the war. We did lose to Veritas again. So the second time we fought them in, I don't know, very quick actually, I have to say, like probably within like 2 weeks. But I think it might be the matchmaking kind of fix or whatever that they were talking about doing. So I think that's probably what's happening. So most likely we'll be fighting Veritas again in the future. But yeah, that's it for this fight. But anyways, at the end of this, I was like adrenaline rush. Yeah, so that was the takedown of the Stronghold. I think we needed a double win on that one. I think he had 100 HP left, so I needed to do it. And I honestly thought that both teams are really safe. I just didn't really expect my Crow to be like one shot there. 11,000 HP. 11,000 damage with the dual attack. Anyways, that's it for that one. So Iggy versus Veritas again. Again, good war, guys. I'm gonna end this for the video recording sake. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next GVG video.